born for this. I was born for this.
Welcome back to another episode of Cork'd Up. I'm Jess Kleinschmidt.
And I'm Rachel Luba. Cheers.
On your body armor.
No, I apologize, guys. I'm super lame today, and body armor it is because I have so much more work to do. Can't be getting schmammered with Jess as much as I would love to.
Yeah, so I will let y'all know. When I've had to work after a taping, I didn't complain about it. So there's that. What is our wine word?
She just pretended to have wine.
I did. Well, there was one time I did have wine. I guess we could say it now. It was before an A's game that I was covering. And
I didn't rat her out. So I'll just say that.
That's very true. I guess since it's over, like, it doesn't matter. But at the time I was paranoid AF. Because I was like, I'm not going to drink the wine, and then I ended up drinking the wine. Like,
yeah, I've got no one to answer to.
That's true. That's
per
very
se, but I just know that I have to get this stuff done, and I'm so tired that if I drink wine, I will fall asleep and nothing good will come out of it. So,
on that note, what is our wine word so that I can indulge in today?
And I can get hydrated with my body armor. Our wine word or hydration word is Sayang.
Okay, so we already get there. First of all, Rach, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. I know we talk all the time on text, but I missed you so much. I know you were super, super busy. And the reason why, and it's going to happen to do with our wine word, we're just going to get into it. Trevor Bauer, ladies and gentlemen, is mine, all of our NL Cy Young Award winner for 2020. And Zaddy was dressed really, really nice. I had to say Zaddy. I had to. I'm hoping they show in a social clip, they show what Trevor wore. He was decked out. He looked really good.
He killed it. I actually had the task of picking out his suit, and because he has several that he got custom made about, I would say, a year and a half or maybe 2 off seasons ago. I called Derek Dietrich. I FaceTimed him to get his opinion because
that's the guy you got to call. I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
That's his personal stylist.
Yeah.
I know if you missed the Momentum video of them going shopping in Chicago last year, you got to go check it out. It's fantastic. But Dietz has got some fashion, and I know my fashion for females, but not as well for men. So he was running around busy. I was running around busy, but also he told me I have to go pick out his outfit. So I was like, oh great. So I panicked, called Dietz on FaceTime. Turns out he got a new cell number, which I have now, so we're all good. But he did tell me that he approved of it, but I couldn't get a hold of him. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna wing it. And I picked out the brown suit, which the videographer, Scott Ohashi, was a little, I could tell he was like, not sold on. And so then that made me nervous. But I was like, you know what? With the background, there was like a really vibrant plaid one, black and white. And I was like, that's too much for,
right.
As cool as it is, it's too much for with this background. I don't know. And then there was a maroon one. But I
really good in maroon.
Yeah, but he's worn it before. So I was like, this one he hasn't worn. And I don't know. I really liked it. I liked the tie, but he's got all the custom. He's got his.
What was inside of the jacket?
So he has, in the inside, he has his little, what is it? Shoulder tube logo guy. And he's got, it's all like custom Bauer outage. In subtle little ways. The funny part is that he's come a long way because his second year of arbitration, when he went to hearing for the first time and was risking $1.1 million to make an extra $125,000, and people, rightfully so on the player's side, were very uncomfortable with that risky decision, but Bauer will Bauer, and
Bauer gonna Bauer.
Yeah, he is. So anyways, he was like, no, I'm going to hearing. I'm going on principle. I believe this is what I'm worth. Like a week before the hearing, the union and the agents have to go through with the player and tell them what you know, what is expected of them, you know, the little kind of to-do list things to prepare for. And one of the things is make sure that you come, you know, to Arizona, which that year was in Arizona, for the hearing with a suit. And I remember when he heard that, he ends up just like texting me on the side, and he was like, you didn't tell me I had to wear a suit for this. He was like, if I knew I had to wear a suit, I wouldn't have gone to hearing. I'm like, all right, well, glad to know that.
That's interesting though, because they don't have to wear an actual suit when they're traveling.
That's all team specific.
Gotcha. Okay.
So some teams do. Some it's like, you know, collared shirt. Some it's just, you know, a polo. Some button down. You know, they all have different rules. But he hates suits, and so he was like, you didn't tell me how to wear a suit. He was like, if I knew I had to wear a suit, I wouldn't have gone to hearing. I'm like, well, I'm glad that was what would have stopped you from risking 1.1 million.
Right.
You know, but anyway, so he does wear a suit. He ripped a hole down the middle of his pants after the hearing. So, but he ended up winning the hearing. So like it all worked out fine. Fast forward a year, and suddenly he was like, you know what? I think the reason I didn't like my suits, like it didn't fit well, I'm gonna get custom suits. So suddenly he gets all these suits designed for him, and now he loves suits, and he always wants to wear them. And every off season, he's like, what things can I go to? You know, Rachel, can you find things for me so I can wear my suit? And so of course this is perfect. He gets to wear a suit. And right before he went on air with MLB Network, he was putting on his socks and ripped his pants in this suit too. So we were like, okay, that's a good sign though, because we know from the past that like ripped pants are always followed by success.
A win.
Yes, a win. So that was the good part, or at least made me feel a little better about it.
That's good. Yeah. And I hope, I'm glad that he likes suits, because like, I'm not saying like girls are always like, oh, I love a man in a baseball uniform. But when I see them in their street clothes or in their suit, that's when I get excited. Mama loves a man in a suit.
I'm a big suit person.
City. I didn't like Big, but he always knew how to wear the fuck out of a suit, man. Like you put a suit on and I'm like, tell me where. I'm thinking of fall wedding. Like we're good. So I'm glad he's into the suits. Yeah, he pulled it off, and Brown was an interesting choice, but I'm glad he went toward that, because I wasn't expecting it. I don't think anybody else was too.
Nobody.
You're mentioning like the black and white and the plaid and shit. That's where my mind would go.
Yeah. So it was just trust me though, if you saw this suit, that was too, you know, like checkered things.
Did it wash him out?
Well, no, like, you know how checkered things on camera look like they're moving? It looks like it's moving, the pattern. Like it can, I don't know, it looks weird.
Yeah.
It just made me nervous. Like it's bright. And for like a TV camera thing, I don't know. This I felt like was the best call. I thought he looked great. The only like sad part was, so he was kind of told that, you know, okay, you have to be on camera. And there were all these like guidelines that we had about how, you know, there can't be windows behind him, all these things. And he thought it was like just supposed to be him. So we have like tons, like all his friends and family, everyone's like behind him. And then Bieber goes right before, and he's got his like whole family and the whole crew. And then everyone was like texting us, like, why is Bauer all alone for this? I'm like, no, we were all behind him, but he didn't know that any of us could be there. You know, his parents are all there right behind. So that part,
Bieber's family was like creeping, and I really appreciated it.
It was like a draft. I felt like
it felt like, or the draft, or like the winter meetings when like there's like LB networks going on. There's all those stupid kids trying to apply for jobs. That's what it looked like, because they were being all casual, like. But it's like, we see you, Dad. Chill. Like, Dad, I know you're there, Dad. Relax. But that was really cool too. We'll revisit the Bieber thing in a second. But I want to know, just because like the beautiful thing about having momentum there was we got to see literally all the behind the scenes stuff. But obviously none of us were there. So I'm curious, just from a media perspective, and I've covered this stuff before because I've had to write on it. So when I was with Cut 4, we knew some of the announcements beforehand just to prep us for the content. I don't know about the awards, but like some of the stuff on television we knew. So did you guys find out the same time that we did? So when they made the announcement on LB Network, or did you know ahead of time? by like a little bit.
No, we found out. So we were,
So we all found out at the same time.
All found out at the same time. And so we were nervous. So they gave us at first they told us it was going to be, I guess, because we're on Mountain Standard in Arizona. So it was going to be, so Eastern, it was 6:48, they told us. So it was going to be 4:48 here. So we're like watching. And by the way, because of how everything's set up and he has to have his AirPods in for the interviews and stuff. So we got someone to, one of Trevor's employees, Tosh, hooked up his,
he's a new employee. We should shout him out.
Yeah. Tosh Semlocker. He's Canadian, but he considers himself American. So.
Okay, well, good for him.
Yeah. But anyways, he's awesome. And so he set up he streamed MLB Network from his computer, but it was on this tiny screen in the corner. And I also have, because there's a bunch of us that do work for Trev that wanted to be a part of it. So they were Zoom calling in from a little computer on the side, and we have everything, set up. And there's this tiny, computer showing MLB Network, but we can't have the sound on. So none of us could even tell what was actually happening. So we're all watching
back, and everything would have been a shit show and everything like that. Is that right?
Yeah. So we have no sound. So we're just waiting. So Trevor has his headphones and he can hear everything. We can't. So everyone's like, and trying to be quiet because, Taiki's filming, for Momentum. Bauer, we're trying to be quiet for him in the headphones. So everyone's kind of like mouthing, what time is it? It's on in 3 minutes, they're going to announce it. And then suddenly it's 4:48 and they didn't announce it. And I guess Morgan got a text that they were going to announce it at 4:53 or something. So we're like, okay. So we're like watching the minutes go and just
you see the clock like take a tick back. You're like, fuck.
We're like looking at the little screen to see, and we can't tell if they're announcing it because there were no words either on the screen. It was just, he just announced it. Maddox just announced it. So we're like back and forth. Everyone's got their cameras ready. And then we just see Trevor like, yeah. And so we're all like, we assume, okay, they must have called Bauer. And then after, everyone was joking about what if he was just trying to be, like respectful or a good, team player or whatever, good sport. And they called, Darvish or something. And so, but he did win. And that was like all of us, I think, just got kind of teared up because especially if you watch that video Taiki made, I feel like it so well sums it up for him, his whole childhood. I mean, he's never been the most athletic. He's, he's always had to do it a little differently because there was no other way for him.
Yeah.
And to see him after all these years, and I mean, especially, look, the last 10 years, the battles and struggles I've seen, the ups and downs, the roller coaster of emotion, just with how he's playing. Like he knows he can be a Cy Young winner and he wants it so badly, but it's so, it was just like he could never get there. He could never achieve it. And to see it finally happen, just was the coolest experience, the highlight of my year for sure. And thank God that kid can change his damn wallpaper on his phone. Since I've known him 10 years ago, this wallpaper.
Tell the story about the wallpaper because I know the story and it was really cool. And they talked about it on LB Network. He had a photo of him holding a Cy Young award, and it was somebody else's, Jim Palmer.
Just somebody else's Cy Young. And it's been his background just blown up. It's just like the Cy Young, like zoomed in. You almost can't really tell at first what it is. And since I've known him, that's been every phone he has. He puts he has his two phones. They're both, it's the background of both of them. The lock screen, everything. And I was like, dude, can you just change that? Or I don't know, update it with somebody else's or not. He's like, no, like it's going to stay this until I get Cy Young. I'm like, oh, then you're going to like move on. He was like, no, I'm just going to replace it with mine. All right. So finally he gets to replace it with his own Cy Young.
Love that.
And he gets to be like one of those people that has like their face on their wallpaper of their phone. Like this is the equivalent. It's like, here's my Cy Young. But it's cool. So, I mean, you can do it.
Right.
You're the Cy Young winner. You can do whatever the hell you want.
No, he actually inspired me. I'm gonna actually, this is like, I'm not even kidding. I'm gonna replace my background, which is of my nephew, who I love dearly, but let's be honest. Mama wants to win an Emmy one day.
Okay.
So I'm replacing my nephew's face with an Emmy because that worked for Trevor, worked for me. And I love that because I'm the same way. Like, you know, I didn't go to college or anything like that, or I tried, but I dropped out. So to know that like you can go about things a different way and still like fucking dominate, it's cool. But I am curious because I mean, you got to witness some of this. Like, was there anybody specific? You don't have to name names, but if he was so laser focused on this Cy Young, there must have been people who were like, Trevor, you're not going to do that. Like, that's not going to happen. So like, did that actually happen, or was it a situation? Because you mentioned ups and downs. I don't know what those downs were. I can only assume what they are. But was there anybody specific that was like, Trevor, like, come on, you're not going to win a Cy Young?
I mean, I'm sure plenty
of prominent people. Not people on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure plenty of writers and stuff, because look, like he, so, you know, he was always, if you watch the video, you can kind of get a glimpse of, you know, and a feel for what it was like growing up for Trevor and in baseball. But he was never the most talented. He was just always the guy when nobody else wanted to go out there. Bauer just wanted it. He wanted to pitch every day, and shocker, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
He's still that little boy that just wants to pitch every single day. And so, you know, there was finally he got to college, and, you know, he was a different pitcher in college for sure, but he finally really started having success, and especially with all his strikeouts, and college, he was super successful. And then of course he gets drafted first round, third pick. And, you know, look, his junior year, his last year at UCLA, he had a better season than Garrett did. The reason Garrett goes first round, first pick is because he's just, you look at his stuff, he just has better stuff. He's a better athlete. He's, you know, he projects just better, despite the fact that he just didn't have as great of a season as Bauer did. Now, Bauer still gets drafted, you know, first round, third pick. And then he ends up, you know, making it up. He was one of the quickest. Yeah, he made it up to the big leagues before Garrett did. It was less than a year in the minors from being drafted that he gets his debut. I got to go see his debut. It was awesome. But he then just, it was like he was a kind of a bust, a disappointment. He was this, you know, you expect the first round, you know, first few picks to be, if they make it, there should be like the cream of the crop, right?
Right.
Bauer was just always, he was consistent, but he was viewed as just kind of average. And no matter what happened, it was like, you know, one thing started to go his way, and then like something else fell apart or whatever it was. And so he just never, like, you saw Garrett, you saw Sonny, they all had these glimpses of these, you know, elite seasons, and he was struggling. It was hard for him. He had to make like certain changes, which eventually he did. And then of course he has his 2018 season, which, I mean, he should have finished honestly higher than 6th in the Cy Young, but he finishes the season after getting hit with the line drive in mid-August, and he's out for 6 weeks. He still finishes the season with like 170 something innings pitched after missing like 6 weeks of the season. So that season, I mean, honestly, he should have, I think, finished higher in the Cy Young. But I mean, regardless, so he was crushed. He was like, you don't, like, you know how hard it is, Rachel, to have a season that good and then just have it taken away like that because of a line drive. It's not even a pitching injury. Like, it was a freak accident kind of thing. And he was just like, it'll never fall my way. Nothing ever goes my way because I'm Bauer and I just get screwed over every time.
So he felt like the world was kind of,
it was like, no matter what he did, it was like somebody was gonna interfere, or something would interfere so that he couldn't get it. He never gets the benefit of the doubt, and the cards never broke his way or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, look, like it's hard to kind of comfort somebody in that moment of, you know, watching just they're on a roll in 2018. This is the year. And then that happens. And so whatever, he finishes sixth. Again, he should have finished higher, but back then too, his media the perception of him in the media wasn't great. And so people did not like him. So, he really had to be perfect in order to win anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden 2019 happens and he starts off great. And then he did get, he injured in Seattle in like May, I think. He hurt his ankle a little bit and he didn't really realize, but he, kept pitching on it. And I think there was like something torn there and his mechanics got a little messed up. And so things started kind of falling apart last season. And it was because of this ankle thing. And, he asked his trainers, he said, look, if I keep pitching through it, will it get worse? And they said, no, the injury won't. Obviously, there's the reality of like the mechanics and your performance might suffer, but like the injury itself won't get worse. And he was like, okay, well, I won't go on the IL. So I'm just going to keep pitching. And so he's always valued, showing up to work every single day, no matter what. And so his performance wasn't great. So then he struggled. Last season was so hard to watch because his stuff was there. It was good, but things just, with the injuries but he was pitching through it. So like no one knew about this, but I remember I went to go watch one of his games and it was towards the end of the season with the Reds. And we were, going to grab food after or something. And we were just pulled up in his car and we're just sitting there and it was just quiet for probably like 5 minutes. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just going to sit in here. And he's just staring just straight out. And I'm like, all right, we'll just wait this one out. And then he just screams like bloody murder. Like he was so mad. And I got so scared because I was like, oh my, like it just caught me off guard. Yeah. I felt like that moment in that car was like rock bottom for him with everything. It was like he got so close. It was like, he struggled. He got so close. It got taken away. And then it was just like downhill. And then in that car that night, he was like, he let it all out. He was so mad. Yeah. And then it was just, he finished up the season. It wasn't, he did a little better the last few games. And then, then we have 2020 and just finally it clicked. Like finally he like things went his way. So I just, to see him want it so badly and that guy, he never takes a day off. Was really cool.
No. And that's what's cool. Just like for like an overall perspective, because especially like what he's done and me personally, same thing. Like there's that one moment we want to give up, right? We want to give up. We're like, fuck this, I'm done. Yeah. And I've had that before and I kept chugging along and I'm glad he kept chugging along because not only did he give us like a really great season on the mound, but he introduced this really cool, and this is not me kissing his ass or anything, but how I feel about him. I love him as a pitcher, but I love him even more as the content person. And I feel like it's so new and revolutionary. I'm not just saying that because momentum, but like I genuinely mean that. And
it's really cool to see. It's cool that it all lined up so well where he had a great season, but he also could, do all this content stuff. And he's changing baseball. And I say that and, he knows he wants to, but I don't know if he really realizes like, he's already changing the game.
And it's a huge responsibility because I know like a lot of the hires that I've been a part of, they'd be like, oh, we want you to like revamp baseball. And that's such a huge fucking responsibility because it's like the most non-progressive fan base. And I just want to shake some baseball fans. Like you're complaining about all this stuff, but you want more of it. And it's so confusing. And I feel like he's not listening to the people complaining, just going for it. I unfortunately listen to the complainers, and I do. And I feel like that's a lot to do with what I have, like certain people that I work with.
But that's that's the reality of what he's doing. And to be a person like him in this game and trying to do what he's doing, you basically have to accept the fact that people are going to like shit on you and people are.
Yeah. And I think he's he's equipped to do that.
Because this is the thing, because that's how baseball's always been for him. He's never done it the right way. He's never done it the right way. He's never done it the traditional way, just in terms of training.
It's not a sheep. It's not a sheep.
Right. It started with him training, and because he's not built like an athlete, he's not this physical specimen. So for him to compete, he had to do things differently. He had to find, using science and math, figure out what can I do? How can I weaponize my body so that I can compete? And he did that. And you know what? If you listen to all the draft, the scouting reports on him when he was getting drafted, there was all this speculation as to he's going to blow out his arm. What is this ridiculous long toss he does? These weighted balls. Oh, that's going to just destroy him. He won't make it, 3 years in the league. Okay. Now look at every big league organization, every organization in baseball basically now uses weighted balls. Everyone is adopting and has adopted most of the techniques and stuff that he pioneered. I mean, there's a metric, they're called Bauer units that are used in baseball. I mean, that's something he came up with. So
dude made fucking measurements.
Yeah. So I mean, but look, like that was in the beginning, and he tells me this a lot too when I get frustrated about even just kind of what I'm doing, and it's different, and it's new, and I feel like when people tell me it's not going to work, or she doesn't know what she's doing, and she's going to fail, and all these things, and I want to fight back and respond to them, and I feel like I have so much to prove, and he's like, just like ignore them. They're going to be there, and it's going to take a while for people to realize like what you're doing is the future. But he was like, you can't take them all on right now. Like, you have to just tune them out and just trust that it's going to happen over time. But he's had to learn how to, just use this feeling like you're letting people down because you're not what people expected or whatever, to just kind of fuel you to success.
Yeah. No, and it's so amazing. I'm so glad you walked me through that. I could talk about Trevor all day, and night, but I know you have kind of a cutoff coming up, and I was kind of upset because I want to talk about Kim Eng too. I totally
oh my God, yes,
dig into that. So what do you want to do right now? Do you want to go into winter meetings or go into Kim Eng? We can like push.
Winter meetings aren't for another couple weeks. So
cool. So let's push that back. So let's do Kim Eng. So I'm going to start with myself just for a second. Like, and I don't know how you felt, but I did so many radio interviews and TV stuff last week about her when she got hired, the first female GM. Beyond that, it was so many other things, but I've been covering her for years, Rach. And it was like, oh, she was considered because she almost got Farhan Zaidi's job. And but the best part was she was like, if there's no guaranteed job, I'm not going to do this. And I remember a bunch of interviews seeing her when she was talking about a GM position, possibly with the Padres at one point. She lit up, but she never did it. So I was always covering her as the woman who almost did it, who almost got it. And it felt like the moment she was hired, it felt like a huge weight was lifted off of my chest, because it was like, okay, we're starting revolution. And I know I don't want to dumb down what I do. And I'm very proud of what I do. I work my ass off, and you know that. But it's at the end of the day, like, I feel like the media is just the beginning. Like, what you're doing is phenomenal. What she's doing in the front office is phenomenal.
But everyone had to break it. Like, there weren't females in your position at one point either. That's the thing. It's just that, yeah, sure, there's eventually, we're not going to have any more of like the first female, but for right now, this is still one, that somebody had to break through. And so, you guys are still, now that's not to say that everything is, great and dandy for females, even as writers.
Right. And I don't think it ever will be, but right. Like I said, it just feels like it's like, okay, cool. Like, I feel like she did it, and it was like, I told you so. Like, right. We can fucking do shit. She was part of Derek Jeter's big extension with the Yankees. Like, she was underneath Cashman. Like, she's a bad bitch. And it's like, to see them work and like, and he wasn't just like, oh, I'm taking a chance on a friend. And that's what was cool. And there was another like, and I don't want to be religious, but the reason why a lot of these things didn't work in her favor, I feel like God was like, no, you need to work with Derek Jeter. This is going to happen. This is what you need to do. And I feel like that was what was cool about it. I remember thinking about that, like the reason why Padres didn't take a chance on you beyond that. But it also made me think of like, you know, she had to be even better than the rest. A Trevor Bauer story.
Way better.
Way better to even be considered. And to get the job, you have to be not just better, but the best. And
go look at all the qualifications of a majority of GMs. No, but a majority of GMs.
Compared to her, for sure.
She's so overqualified. And that part to me, it's like, it's not, I mean, it's so normal though. It's like, you know, people will sit there and ask me, you know, oh, like I've had people recently like judge my law school because they thought my law school wasn't good enough. And I'm like, okay, first of all that's required to be an agent, which by the way is what a majority satisfy, is that you graduate high school. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to even be a lawyer, but yet I'm a lawyer and you're judging, you're like, well, her law school, it's like, it's a little odd that she's able to do this because she only went to this law school. And I'm like, I mean, Scott Boras went to a law school that's ranked 100 below mine. So I don't think that matters. But anyways, like you have to be so overqualified in order to, and then you still get judged on, first of all, that's the other thing. People want to see your qualifications. And look, at the end of the day, she should have been a GM, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. She started working in baseball before I was born. Okay.
Oh, I can't say that, but yes.
Like 2 years before I was born, she started working in baseball. I'm 28 and she's just now becoming a GM. And some verified account, some lady, or I don't know, she tweeted about, I wrote something about how, you know, she started working, 2 years before I was born. Now I'm 28. She's just now a GM. You know, and like lesson, you know, is to, if you believe in something, if you want something bad, keep going. And her response was that this is all wrong. And this is the problem that, you know, we're looking at it this way. What we need to be talking about is the inequality.
Verified account for what?
I don't know. It's just like I think she's a blogger, writer. I don't know.
I know you just got verified on both things. The fact that you got Instagram before Twitter is crazy, by the way. Congratulations.
I didn't even
forever to get my Instagram verified.
I didn't even ask her. I wasn't even trying to do Instagram. I gave up on it. But the union, when I talked to them about the Twitter, because people were making fake accounts and announcing stuff about Bauer, and they were changing like my L and Rachel to an I, and it looked like
that helps. That's how I got my verification on Twitter. There was fake accounts.
That helped me because it was the election that took over. They said we have to worry about the election, so they wouldn't verify me. But when I reached out to the union about it, I was like, we got to do something because like this is ridiculous. And he pointed to me as the person who's gonna, be the spokesperson more or less. So someone needs to verify this my account. And she's like, well, okay, I'm on it, but while I'm at it, do you want me to try Instagram? I'm like, sure. Like, I don't know why Instagram is going to verify me. But then like, literally a day later, she gets back to me and she goes, okay, like Instagram's taken care of. She's like, still waiting to hear on Twitter. I'm like, ugh. But anyways, yay for me. Now I'm verified.
No, even actually, it was actually after our Delina to Shields interview when I got verified. Because I like tweeted or I commented on the Cork'd Up or Momentum video. And there was a blue check mark. I was like, holy shit. I was so stoked, but I had to act cool. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. That was pretty exciting.
Like, I got turned down by Instagram like 17 times. And
basically, same here. I gave up on it. But no, look.
We're Instagram. We're verified on all the, fuck yeah, dude.
But wait, okay, what were we were talking about Kim.
Sorry. Women.
This lady, whatever, she responded and was like, it's not about persevering, it's about the inequality. And this bothers me because sure, you're right. That is the reality of it, that, that there is a level of inequality here. But if we sit there and focus and bitch about that, that is how nobody ends up in positions like Kim Ing.
That's what I tell you all the time.
Kim Ing did not sit there and cry about the fact that she's been trying over and over again. She kept her head down and she said, I'm gonna fucking do it one day. And now here she is. And so when people sit there that bothers me as like, you know, somebody who's like pro.
A rage rant is upon us. A rage rant is upon us. Continue, Mama.
But look, like that's how I feel about this.
Well, I know.
We can't, I mean, sitting here bitching about it's not fair, there's inequality. I tell every young like girl who talks to me and wants advice, I tell them, look, you're gonna have to be overqualified. Can I sit here and tell you that that's not fair and it shouldn't be like that? Yeah, sure. And that's and you're right, it's not. But if you want it, this is how it is right now. And so you're gonna have, if you want it badly enough, you're gonna have to suck it up, realize that this is the reality, and go bust your ass and be overqualified. People will recognize you someday and they will notice you're overqualified. But for right now, you're gonna have to suck it up. And
and they eventually, I promise you, they will pay attention. I promise you they'll pay attention. And that's what you do when you push up the work. I hate if you're complaining about being a woman in sports and not just working, when the more you tweet out how difficult it is to be a woman in sports and you're not booking a guest on your podcast, you're not writing an article, this is me specifically, you're not doing the work, you're wasting time.
Right.
And so it's like, don't create a cool Twitter persona without the shit to back it up. That's what I have a problem with. And same thing, like when women approach me, like young women, they're like, hey, I want to do what you do. Like, how do I do it? I first say, like, you probably won't want to do it because it sounds sexy. Our job sounds
great, but you have to, but that's the thing is you have to be okay with like I tell girls, I write everything down. I started doing it years ago. Somebody told me to do it. They were like, all these moments where you want to bitch about it, write it down. And I write it down. And then I get to, fast forward, years in the future. And there'll be moments where I can tell these little stories and they make for great stories and they make dudes look like dumbasses.
Yeah.
But that's where you let it fuel you. And then, over time you can let the world know and show them the shit you went through to get here. But to sit there and bitch about every single time and to talk about like instead of talking about how awesome this is, what Kim Ing did, we should sit here and cry about inequality. Like, no, right now that's not going to help. Like that's my take on it, and I keep bothering me.
I totally agree, and I think you did a good job kind of explaining it. We're always on the same page with that. You know how I feel. There's specific women that I don't want to target in this because I'm sure they're listening. But it's just do the work. We all know. We don't, and you mentioned it. You don't want to be the token female who's hired just to be hired. You have the stuff to back it up, and all of that. And I can go on for days, but we are so stoked. And I really feel like the moment she was hired, I just feel like I can just do my job easier. And I wrote an article and I was like, I felt so confident writing it. Like she did it. Now
I had to text her the next day and getting to I took a moment and just stared at my phone for a sec and just smiled. I was like, wow, I get a text to GM right now about a baseball player and it's a female. And that's really fucking cool because I've never gotten to do that.
Yeah. I don't want to get an email on it, but I'll listen to some Yellow Card later, but it's just
it's cool.
It's so cool because when I first got in this industry, Rachel, there were no Rachel Lubas. There was nobody. My mentors were all men. Yeah. And, the last few years I've been so lucky, but that was the new thing. I didn't think there were women that I could actually come to for advice. Now I have a baseball group chat and between, with Melanie and Danny, and then I have you, of course, and I have other women, but it's they don't understand it. And I don't bitch about it, but it just, it happens. Right. And I bitched up at the beginning, but that was all part of it. And it's still going to be a road. It's a little less bumpy, but I'm so stoked because I know she's not the first or she's not the last. She's definitely the first. She's not the last. And it just goes to show between the Trevor situation, you and me, it's just,
that's my thing is if you want
we're so capable and we don't realize it.
if you, I mean, look, like Trevor ties it. I mean, you can look at, the Trevor Bauer Cy Young. You can look at, Kim Ing. You look at anybody. If you want something bad enough, and that's what I tell people. I didn't grow up like as a fan of baseball. I taught myself baseball. Like when I decided this is what I want to do in college. Okay, you can teach yourself anything. If you want something bad enough, you can find a way to get it. But you have to be so determined, and you have to know that you have to bust your ass way more than anybody else that you're competing with if you want a shot. And just because you bust your ass doesn't mean it's going to be handed to you overnight. It doesn't mean it's ever going to be handed to you, but you have to be willing to put in the work. And chances are, if at some point, you work hard enough and smart enough, like you'll do it. And
and that's authenticity too. Like if you, and I mean, I taught myself media. I didn't go to school I tried, and the media people, the journalism teachers I had were fucking stupid. So I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is not how it works. And I approached it a different way. And sometimes I'll have a couple glasses of wine. I'll read a teleprompter. I don't know how to read a teleprompter, which sounds stupid because it's just reading, but it's different. You have to have all these things. I taught all of my stuff that. And now I have this show and another show. And it's like, I don't have there's not
one way to do it. There's not one way. There's not only one type of person to do something. Like you can craft whatever you're given in life and find a way to make it work towards what you want. And like, I really do believe that. It doesn't matter everyone has different stories, different paths. They have different gifts that they're, given, and they find a way to work with what they have. And if you complain about what you have and that it's not enough and it's not fair, and then you're never gonna make it.
Yeah. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing either, because
everyone does it differently usually too.
We're on our own path, and we're going to be successful in our own ways. This was amazing. Honestly, Rachel, my favorite episode of Cork'd Up so far.
It was a good one.
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
We're going to let you go because I know you have stuff to do, and I kind of want to sleep and work out in the morning because I'm doing that now. It's fine. Everything's shut down. The gyms are shut down again, but it's fine. Luckily, I taught myself in the summer to work out outside, so that's fine. I'm trying to be as buff as you, Mama. Trying.
I see you. Okay.
We have a photo shoot in the future, so I'm trying to be skinny as fuck. For being honest. Yeah. All right, I love you, and you're amazing. And
cheers.
See you on the next episode of Cork'd Up.
Bye.